Good evening, dear listeners. I had often observed that Holmes, for all his cold logic, possessed a deep, if unspoken, appreciation for the complexities of the human spirit. It was this same curiosity that led me, in my capacity as a chronicler and occasional broadcaster of the unusual, to invite a most singular guest to our makeshift studio in Baker Street, metaphorically speaking, of course. Through the marvels of modern transcription and a touch of that imaginative faculty Holmes so often decries, I found myself seated across from a lady of such fragile yet formidable presence, an American woman, that she seemed composed of moonlight and granite. She was dressed in white, her eyes bright with a sharp, bird-like intelligence. "Miss Dickinson," I began, inclining my head with the respect due to a lady of her station and genius, "it is a privilege. I am Dr. John Watson. I have spent my life documenting the external mysteries of London, yet your work suggests that the greatest mysteries lie within the four walls of one's own mind." Miss Dickinson tilted her head, a faint, cryptic smile playing on her lips. "A latter always feels to me like immortality, Dr. Watson, because it is the mind alone, without corporeal friend. To inhabit a house is not to stay, but to dwell in possibility. And now our interview, a glimpse into the white heat. You speak of your home in Amherst as a sort of sanctuary, or perhaps, as one of your poems suggests, a friend. Yet many in our world would call such a life reclusive. Is it true that you found a greater freedom in the prison of your father's house than in the streets of the town?"
The soul selects her own society, then shuts the door. To an undisturbed flame, the wind is but a guest. I found that I could soar aloft like a phoenix once the foe of the public eye was past. You see, Doctor, if I read a book and it makes my whole body so cold no fire can ever warm me, I know that is poetry. If I feel physically as if the top of my head were taken off, I know that is poetry. Why seek the chill of the world when one has such fire at home?
That is a striking definition, madam. My friend Mr. Holmes often says that for a working detective, the brain is like a small empty attic, and one must be careful what furniture one puts in it. You seem to have furnished your attic with the most exquisite and sometimes terrifying themes. Death, for instance. Your poem, "Because I Could Not Stop for Death," treats the pale rider with a civility that is quite disarming.
Death is a dialogue between the spirit and the dust. He kindly stopped for me, and the carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. One does not fear a gentleman who knows the way. I have seen the boots of lead creak across my soul, and I have felt a funeral in my brain. When the plank in reason breaks, one drops down and hits a world at every plunge.
I have seen many a man drop down on the battlefield, but never described with such surgical precision of the soul. You also mention a master in your letters, a figure of great emotional weight. And then there is your Susie, your brother's wife. These relationships seem to be the anchors of your internal voyage.
Susie, with the exception of Shakespeare, she has told me of more knowledge than any one living. To say that sincerely is strange praise. As for the master, there are phantoms we all carry in our boxes. If a love lives and beats, one strikes the strings to one more strain of happiness before we die. But one must be careful. Too much light can infirm the sight.
Indeed. I noticed in your herbarium, a most meticulous collection I might add, that you have a fondness for the scientific names of plants. And your gingerbread, I am told you would lower it in a basket to children from your window. It seems there is a great deal of sweetness hidden behind the stiff heart.
I would jump into the flour barrel if the butcher boy came. But for the children, the starving pirates in the orchard, the gingerbread was a bridge. To be a nobody is a dreary thing, is it not? How public, like a frog, to tell one's name the livelong June to an admiring bog.
My dear Miss Dickinson, I think even Holmes would find your science of deduction concerning the human heart to be most formidable. Your use of the dash, that sudden sharp pause, it is as if you are catching your breath before a great revelation.
The truth must dazzle gradually, or every man be blind.
As the session drew to a close, I felt much like Mr. Higginson did after his visit. She had drained my nerve power, yet I felt a strange cold exhilaration.
She was a soul of fire in a shell of pearl. Thank you, Miss Dickinson, I said, rising. I shall think of your alabaster chambers next time I walk the foggy streets of London. Parting is all we know of heaven, she whispered, and all we need of hell.